last lesson of Unit 1 starts on page 19 in your folder. So we've done the add, subtract, and multiply thing. Now we have to be able to divide on those complex numbers. When you divide complex numbers, I can't have a square root in the bottom. It's just the way it's always been done. The I for the imaginary number is the same thing as a square root. That's what it represents, because it's a square root of -1. I have to rationalize that denominator to get rid of it. For example, if I have 3 over I can't have the I in there. I got to get rid of the I on the bottom. To do that, I'm going to multiply by something. To get the I out of the bottom, I got to rationalize it. So that means I'm going to multiply by the same thing, but I'm going to make it a negative. Trying to do multiply negative I over negative I. That's going to help me get I out of the bottom by multiplying it by itself. For example, now I'm going to multiply across. 3 times negative I is negative 3I. And I times negative I is negative I squared. Now we know about negative I squared. Negative I squared is the same thing as -1. So that means now we've got a negative negative. So that means we have negative 3I over 1, which is just negative 3I. Alright, can't leave it in the denominator. I have to rationalize it, which means I'm going to multiply by something over itself. Alright, if I have 5 over 2I, I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by negative 2I. So multiply straight across. And we know I squared is -1, which basically just means I'm going to change the sign. Now I want to see if I can simplify 10 over 4, which I can. That will simplify down to negative 5I over 2. And all I've done is simplify 10/4. But I've got the I at the bottom. Alright, next one, we multiply by negative 3I. Rationalize that denominator. Alright, this one's a little bit different. Because it's 3 minus 2I, think of that as in parentheses, because it's all in there. I can't break it apart. So now I've got to remember to distribute. Everything in there gets multiplied by negative 3I. So that leaves us negative 9I plus 6I squared over negative 9I squared. Alright, can't leave those i's in the bottom, so I'm going to change this sign. So that's going to become a positive 9. I also have an I squared up top. I can't leave that there either. So that's going to make that 6 become a negative 6. Remember, all we're doing, multiplying by -1, changing the signs. Alright, so let's rewrite what we have now. Negative 9I minus 6 over 9. And I can simplify that. I'm going to break it apart into 2 sections. So negative 9I over 9 minus 6 over 9. To check for, see if I can simplify. Now, remember the real part comes first, so I'm going to switch those two when I write my final answer. Because the 6/9 is the real part, so I'm going to write that first. When I simplify that, I get negative 2/3. When I simplify negative 9 over 9, those cancel, and I'm left with minus I. Because it's still a negative up there. Alright, if you want to pause it here and try the ones at the top of page 20, pause it here. Alright, so 6 over 4I. I'm going to multiply by its opposite, so negative 4I. Think of these as a magnet. I got to get rid of the one in the bottom, so I need its opposite. I need a positive and a negative, my magnets. Let's multiply across. I squared means that's just going to become positive 16. So I've got negative 24I over 16. Simplify fractions. Negative 3I over 2. Alright, next one. Need with an opposite, so So I know that everything gets multiplied by negative 2i. So negative 10i plus, negative times negative is positive, 14i squared over negative 4i squared. Alright, get rid of those negatives. That's going to become positive 4. That's going to become negative 14. So let's rewrite it. Negative 10i minus 14 over 4. And I'm going to break it apart so I can simplify. And I'm going to put my real part first. So negative 14 over 4 minus 10i over 4. Alright, simplify fractions. Negative 14 over 4 can simplify to negative 7/2. 10i over 4 will simplify to minus 5i over 2. Alright, if you look at the bottom of page 20, these are going to get a little bit bigger. Now we've got a whole bunch of stuff. We've got a complex down there, not just an imaginary part. To make the I cancel out of this problem, we have to multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate. The conjugate is just the opposite. So if I have a plus bi, its conjugate is a minus bi. All I've done is change those around. So, for example, the bottom of the page, the conjugate of 5 plus 6i, change my sign, would be 5 minus 6i, and vice versa. If you were given 2 minus 3i, the conjugate would be 2 plus 3i. Alright, so 2i minus 6 over 5 plus 6i. So I'm looking at the bottom to get my conjugate, because that's the one I got to get rid of. So if it's 5 plus, the conjugate would be 5 minus, top and the bottom. Now here it gets a little bit hairier. I've got a binomial times a binomial again, so I either need to FOIL it or do the box method. I'm going to do the box method. Let's see, 2i minus 6, 5 minus 6i. So we've got 10i, we've got negative 30, negative 12i squared, and 36i. Alright, bring everything out. We've got 10i minus 30 minus 12i squared plus 36i. Alright, I'm going to get rid of all that I squared stuff. So I'm going to take this, and it's going to become positive 12. Now I want to look to simplify like terms. So I've got negative 30 plus 12, which is negative 18. Alright, then I've got 10i plus 36i, so plus 46i. Now, all that just got the top simplified. I haven't done anything to the bottom. I haven't even found the right answer yet. So I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. The only thing about these is just a little time consuming. So I'm going to do the bottom. 5, 6i, 5 minus 6i. So 25 minus 30i, 30i, and negative 36i squared. Alright, if you look, you've got negative 30i and 30i. That's going to cancel out. So I'm going to have 25 minus 36i squared. I squared means change my sign, so that's going to become a positive 36. Now I can simplify 25 minus 36. I'm sorry, plus 36. That's going to give me 61 on the bottom, because it becomes positive. So I've got negative 18 plus 46i on top over 61. And I'm going to leave it just like that. Alright, if you want to try the next two by yourself, go ahead and pause it here. Alright, I'm going to erase this first example so we have plenty of room to do those last two. Alright, bottom of my denominator is 4 plus 3i, so I'm going to multiply by its conjugate, 4 minus 3i. Then I'm going to do my box method on the top, and then I'm going to have to do it again on the bottom. And I'm going to do the shortcut. So if I do the top, I'm going to have 8 minus 22i plus 12i squared. And I've simplified everything, and that's what I'm left with. Now I got to simplify this, so that becomes negative 12. And I can simplify 8 minus 12, that's negative 4 minus 22, with my real in the front. All right, now I'm going to do the bottom. So this is the top. Now I got to do the bottom. And I'm going to do my shortcut again. Just go ahead and pull out what I've got left. 16 minus 9i squared. So all I did was the box and combine my like terms. That's going to make that a positive 9. And I can simplify 16 plus 9, which is 25. So I'm going to put top and the bottom together. So 8 minus 22i from the top over 25. Alright, last one. I'm going to erase this. Plenty of room to work. Alright, so I've got 2 minus 5i on the bottom. So my conjugate, 2 plus 5i. If I do it to the top, gotta do it to the bottom. Alright, so let's look at the top first. I'm going to have to do my box or my FOIL method. So after I do that, pull everything out, I get 12 plus I on top. After I've simplified, change negatives, well, I can show you where I get that from. So out of my box comes 2 plus I minus 10i squared. So that negative 10 becomes a positive 10, and 2 plus 10 is 12 plus I. So there's the top. Alright, now go to the bottom, and we're going to get 4, the middle's going to cancel, minus 25i squared. That's going to become positive 25, so that leaves me 29 on the bottom. Put it together, 12 plus I over 29. So if you can multiply complex numbers, you can divide them, because there's really not much to do. You never really divide anything. It's just being able to pick out that conjugate, which is just the opposite.